Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's Daily Devotional. Today's going to be a short one, and I mean that. I know everybody's wanting to watch the election results.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's Daily Devotional. Today's going to be a short one, and I mean that.
But given the fact that this is election day and election night, and we will know who's going to be the next president and who's going to be elected to the Senate and the House, and all of our local elections are going to be completed, if not by the end of this evening or early morning, certainly by the end of the next couple of days. I thought we would talk a little bit about, there's an article that I want to focus on, just a couple of snippets of it, and then look at two passages with you this afternoon. So, Jimmy Fallon, he posted this as an opinion piece on the Fox website. He says, "Trump is my choice, but if Biden wins, he has my full support. Here's why." Man, I can't get rid of it. I think today Fox News has this whole keeping track of the Senate races and everything, and I've been trying to figure out for the last 5 minutes how to get rid of it, and I can't do it. So you're just going to have to read above the little thing there. All right. So, like I said, I'm not going to read this whole article, but I do want to focus on the first part of it and then the last part of it. He says, "Donald Trump is my choice for president going away, but if former Vice President Joe Biden's third shot at the White House proves to be the charm, he has my full support. It doesn't get said enough in an age of weapons-grade partisanship, but I root for every president, and so should you, because as they go, we go. Think of it like sports. Growing up as a Yankees fan, I absolutely hated Roger Clemens because he pitched for the arch-rival Boston Red Sox. But when the Yanks traded for Clemens in 1999, I didn't quit my favorite team. I rooted for my not-so-favorite pitcher because he was on our side." Incidentally, I felt the same way when Steve Spurrier was hired as the Gamecocks coach back in 2005. Kind of the same feeling. "Looking back, I'm glad I did because Clemens gave the Bronx Bombers a real shot in the arm, perhaps in more ways than one. Looking forward, when it comes to countries, America is my Yankees. I won't quit this team if we make a trade I don't like on Election Day. And to be clear, neither are any of the celebrities threatening to skip town, so let's end this charade once and for all. No matter who's on the mound next year, we should all be rooting hard for him or even her should Biden get pulled for a 25th Amendment relief pitcher after calling President George one time too many. That's why my vote isn't really for Trump or Biden. It's for you, the person who understands how lucky we are to live here and recognizes the need to start putting country ahead of party. We need more of you if we're ever going to get an end to this national Real Housewives brawl we've been engaged in for the past 4 years on social media. So as we head to the polls, my message is this. I don't care if you vote Republican or Democrat, even if you vote for the Libertarian candidate or someone the country takes more seriously, like Kenya. But if your party takes the loss on Election Day, or whatever day they get done counting the vote, don't be one of the people who wants to hold the country hostage until you get your way. Be the person who realizes America is the greatest source of good the world has ever known. Be the person who recognizes that for all the shamelessly divisive terms like systemic bias, there has never been a more tolerant and inclusive time to be here than right now. So why not build on that?" And he brings up a situation with Tim Scott and some of the things that he has said and so forth. But it's interesting because he goes on to say, at the end here, he says, "So whoever pitches next, I'm imploring you to lay down your social media arms and support them with all you've got. Because in the past 4 years, or if the past 4 years have taught us anything, it's that America doesn't need more Republicans or more Democrats. It needs less haters." And so I thought that was a really interesting article, and I thought it had a great point to it. The fact that no matter who is elected, again, whether it's President Trump or President Biden, come January 20th or whenever it is the inauguration day is, regardless of when that's who's going to be there, we need to support that individual, not just because it's a good thing to do, not just because it's good for our country and it's the right citizen thing to do, lawfully elected individuals and so forth, but also because of what the scriptures say for us as Christians. Now, I'm not going to read, obviously, we've talked about Romans 13 in the past, and I think everybody's fully aware of what Paul says here, but I do want to focus on two main parts here in Romans 13. Verse 1, let every soul be subject to the governing authorities, for there is no authority except from God, and the authorities that exist are appointed by God. And so whoever is in authority, God has allowed them that position. And we need to respect that. And thus, whoever resists the authority resists the ordinance of God, and those who resist will bring judgment on themselves. But then Paul goes on to say, in verse 5, therefore you must be subject not only because of wrath, but also for conscience sake. God is fully aware whether or not we are truly submitting to the authority of those who are governing authority, submitting to that lawful government. For because of this you also pay taxes, for they are God's ministers, attending continually to this very thing. So verse 7, Paul says, render therefore to all their due. Taxes to whom taxes are due, customs to whom customs, fear to whom fear, honor to whom honor. Now, this is very important. No matter how much we may dislike personally a candidate, or for that matter, if someone we don't like personally or we don't agree with their policies gets elected, we still have to to give honor to whom honor is due. And that actually speaks to the other passage I wanted to look at as well. It's a passage in Peter, 1 Peter chapter 2, and in verse 15, Peter says, for this is the will of God, that by doing good you may put to silence the ignorance of foolish men. And notice this is in a context also of authority. He says, submit yourselves to every ordinance of man for the Lord's sake, whether to the king as supreme or to governors, or as to those who are sent by him for the punishment of evildoers and for the praise of those who do good. For this is the will of God, that by doing good you may put to silence the ignorance of foolish men, as free, yet not using liberty as a cloak for vice, but as bondservants of God. And especially using liberty as a cloak for vice, certainly in this context, the idea is to allow my state as a Christian to somehow be an excuse for me not to submit to the governing authorities, which is why he says in verse 17, honor all people, love the brotherhood, fear God, honor the king. You don't have to like the king to honor the king. You know, I'm sure that many of the Christians during Paul's time didn't like Nero, okay, as Caesar, but Paul commands them to honor him. Even though Paul ultimately would be killed by Nero, Paul, I have no doubt, even to his death, Paul still honored the king. He still respected that position, even though he may have not have respected the person behind the position or in the position personally. He respected the authority that that individual wielded and that God allowed him to wield. And certainly Peter's offering the same thought here. So as I mentioned, I really just wanted to bring that up. Just a reminder for us, no matter who you vote for, no matter if it, who you voted for president, for Congress, in the Senate and the House, for mayor in your local town here in Wichita Falls, we got to vote for mayor. We had a lot of different people and different things we voted for. And whether it goes your way or not, regardless of how it all lands, kind of how all the chips fall, understand that God has allowed America to exist. God has allowed for the last almost 300 years some of the strongest laws protecting freedom, protecting the right to religion, and we have been blessed to live in this country for so many generations, where in so many places in this world, even still today, people of faith, people who are true Christians, still are, they deal with persecution. And so we are blessed to live in this country. And as a result, we should always honor the king or the government that is in place, knowing that God has allowed that government to exist and that God will continue to work in the kingdoms of men. He will bring about what he wants to happen. Now, whether it's what we want is not really relevant. It's what God wants. And so we need to make sure we submit to that. All right, everybody, that's the Daily Devotional for you today. Continue to pray, continue to offer thanks to God, and continue to ask God to watch over our country and to tonight or whenever, pray for our leaders, and then whenever we know who the newly elected leaders are going to be, pray for them too. Okay, so that we can continue to live a quiet and peaceful life in all godliness and reverence, as Paul says in 1 Timothy chapter 2. All right, everybody, y'all have a good evening. Keep in mind, tomorrow night we will have our Wednesday night worship service and Bible study. So I will upload those videos as soon as we're done tomorrow evening. So the next Daily Devotional live stream will be on Thursday at 6:30. Lord willing, I'll see you all then. Thanks, everybody.